Hello everyone, welcome back to XSP Green Monster channel. If you're new to the channel, my name is Riley and I do videos on car audio, car parts installs, and just general things I do with my 1997 Chevy Suburban. If you are a subscriber and you're just returning watching one of my videos, thank you, I appreciate the support and I hope that you enjoy this one. Today I'm going to be talking about what you get when you pay for more expensive subs and amplifiers. If you notice that I am in the exact same position, wearing the exact same clothes as the last video you guys probably saw, is because of all the rain that I was talking about in the last video. And I'm recording this the same day because I want to make sure that I have some content put out for you guys if this rain does persist and I cannot work on my car for the next week or so. So I'm going to get right into subs and amplifiers and what you're getting when you pay for the more expensive ones. And I want to start off with talking about kind of what typically are the more expensive brands and what are less expensive brands and what to look out for with those companies. So I just want to say, first off, we have, I'm kind of put them in three ranges, and this is subject to my opinion to a certain extent. I think that most things I'm going to say about them are not as debatable as some of the other things I'm going to say about them. But I'm going to put them into three categories, which is kind of going to be like a low end, a medium end, and a high end. Now, I don't want me saying a company's low end to be all the products that they make are low end products, because some of the high end companies I'm going to name make low end products. But if you compare the high end products of that company to the high end products of another company, that's kind of where they stand. Some are cheaper, some are kind of in the middle, some are much, much more expensive. And so that's kind of where I'm grouping them. I'm not basing them on like, well, this company does make low-end products, but it's not in low-end category. Well, this is just their high-end products, kind of where they place, and their medium products. I'm kind of going by the consumer ones, and the ones that someone who's just getting into car audio would buy, and stuff to look out for when you are buying these and you're new to car audio or you just haven't seen some of these companies before. So first one I'm going to kind of do is like Boss Audio and Kicker. And Kicker does make some nicer stuff. The L7 motors and the L7 subs are really good subs. They also have some lower end stuff that I feel like is very, very low end, and this is more about their rating system and what you're getting when you pay for it. So I'm not going to talk about the L7s or some of their nicer stuff. And in the middle, I'm going to have, let's see, I'm going to put in Sundown and DC Audio. DC Audio is kind of on the higher-ish end of that. Sundown's a pretty good medium. And for the high end, I'm going to say DD Audio and B2 Audio. So, when you're looking at Kicker or Boss or these companies, you're going to notice that a lot of the products that they sell are rated by their max power outputs. And, I mean, that's fine. It's nothing against the company that they rate by their max. It is a little bit of a downfall for consumers because it's a little bit misleading. But on the marketing side of it obviously rates a higher watt number. People are more likely to buy it, and it works. A lot of people run Boss and Kicker and these lower end companies because they rate their amps and things to their max power. Max power of an amplifier is going to be very, very rarely reached. Even on an amplifier dyno, where you can control the impedance and everything, you are rarely going to see that max burst number. So, whatever the max is, a safe estimate for what the amplifier is capable of putting out. I want to stress capable, because capable is not what it outputs in your car. There's box rise in your car, and when box rise happens, it raises the impedance to the amplifier. When the impedance raises, your amplifier puts out less power. So there's real-time power, what you're seeing when you're demoing, when you're playing music and you're listening to it. There's the RMS power of the amp, which is different than what you're going to see in your vehicle. And then there's the burst power or the max power. Burst power and max power, you should completely ignore. It really means nothing in the car audio world. Nothing that I can see that's worth taking note of. RMS power is what you should be looking at. RMS power is that in ideal conditions, the amplifier should output that much. If you are not given an RMS rating for the amp, take half of the max power. With Kicker and Boss amplifiers, a lot of them are rated at max power. You take half of that, and that will be what the amplifier is actually rated at. So you take half of that, and then nominally, I'd say about 75% of that then is what you're going to see in the vehicle. And this applies to all amplifiers. But DC, Sundown, DD Audio B2, they all rate their amplifiers at RMS. You very rarely see a max rating or a burst rating on those amplifiers. So when you see a DC Audio 2K versus a Boss 2K, the DC Audio 2K is actually a 2K RMS speaker, amplifier, sorry, where the Boss 2K amplifier is actually probably about a 1,000 watt amplifier, if not less. So, since I've covered that, subwoofers, it's the exact same thing. They overrate their subwoofers. They rate them at max. It's about the same. RMS should be about half of max, but that's just what it can take. You don't need to take any percentage of that. RMS of a subwoofer is what it should be able to take for an indefinite amount of time. Now, I'm going to cover amplifiers first with what you're getting, what you are paying for when you pay for these more expensive amplifiers. I'm sure you can get kick air amplifiers for $100 or less, or around $200. Medium-sized DC 2K is around $500 brand new, and you get into DD audio and B2 audio, and I think a 2K in those ones is probably going to push around $1,000 for those amplifiers brand new. So what are you paying for when you're paying $1,000 for a 2K versus $500 for a 2K versus $100 for a 2K? Like I already stated, the $100 for a 2K amplifier in Boss or Kicker or some of these lower end brands is really going to be a 1,000 watt amplifier. So right there, you're losing out on some of your money, and that's why it's cheaper. Another thing is that those amplifiers generally do not put out their rated power. And I mean the RMS power of the amplifier. If it's rated at around 1,000, those amplifiers generally do not put out 1,000 even on amplifier dynos. And that's why they're cheaper. That is why an amplifier is cheaper. It's because they don't have as good components and they're not actually doing what they're rated to be doing. Now, some of their amplifiers do. Some of Kicker's and Boss's higher end amplifiers do put out the rated power. I want to restate that. I'm not talking about every single product this company produces. I'm talking about the general products like Kicker, CVRs, I can't even remember. I do not deal with the companies very often, but a Kicker 1400 amplifier, just their lower end version, their medium end version, not their high end version, is not going to put out the 700 watts RMS that's rated, most likely. So that's why it's cheaper. So what you're getting when you pay for the medium ones is that DC Audio, Sundown, those amplifiers all put out their rated power at whatever ohm they are rated. And it's been proven. You can see amplifier dyno videos of that. That does not mean, again, that that's what you're going to get in your vehicle. You're going to see less than RMS in your vehicle, and that is true with any amplifier. So, and I can talk about box rise in a completely different video. I don't want to start really getting into box rise, but that's what you're paying for with those amplifiers, is that those amplifiers, they do rated. They do what they said that they do, and it's proven that they said what they do. You can watch videos of them on amplifier dials. They will put out what they say that they are supposed to put out. They're a little bit cleaner. They're usually all rated about 1% TDH at rated, which is the standard clipping. I'm not sure about Kickers and what those are rated at for the power, but they do put out less power. They're probably also rated at 1% total distortion THD. Total harmonic distortion, I believe it is. I might be incorrect on that, don't quote me. I believe it's total harmonic distortion, as basically how much the signal is clipping, or how much the signal is turning from a nice sine wave into a flat-topped sine wave. That is when the signal is clipped. So THD is 1% clipping, basically. 1% total harmonic distortion, or at least that's how I understand it, and that makes sense to me. So that's where those max are rated. For the mill amplifiers, the difference is they actually do their rated power in general, and that's what they do. They're not rated max. You're not buying the max power it says on the box. You are buying the RMS power. For the higher end companies like DD Audio, B2 Audio, not only do they normally put out a little bit more than RMS, but they also are rated at much lower THDs. Like this DD Audio M5, I believe it's rated at 0.05% THD, which is an extremely low percentage of harmonic distortion for an amplifier. That's 0.05% versus 1%. That is a 20th of the distortion in the clipping going on, and it's still rated at the same power. When an amplifier clips, it produces more power. That's how it works. Clipping amplifiers produce usually about, I've heard, 4 times the power as a non-clipped amplifier. But it destroys your subs. Clipping is not good for speakers, it's not good for subwoofers, which is why you don't do that. That's why they're rated at a total harmonic distortion. So that comes into play here, that these produce their rate more than their rated power in general, and it's at a lower distortion. So that's kind of what you're getting paid. You're paying for in amplifiers, is that in the beginning ones you're really paying, they're branding it based on the peak value when it's not actually the peak value. Generally the cases are a little bit cheaper on the amplifiers, they're made of plastic. Mid-range amplifiers, usually you're getting all metal housings, you're getting better manufacturing, and you're getting amplifiers that put out rated, and they reliably put out rated, and it's a reliable company. With the higher end, you're getting amplifiers that do more than rated in general, maybe even at 12.8, rated at 12.8 volts instead of 14.4 volts. And they're rated at that at a much lower distortion. So that's kind of what you're paying for with amplifiers. I'd say good companies go with that never let you down are always Crescendo. Well, Crescendo on their bass, I've had a lot of problems with Crescendo's 800x4 amplifier. I had a ton of problems with that amplifier. But they're still a good company. They produce good. I think I just got a weird amplifier. Their bass, clef series are all good. Def Bounce is making some really good stuff. They're pretty new to the States, at least. They're big in Russia and Germany. Def Bounce is really good. Sundown's good. DC Audio's good. Rockford Punch series is kind of in that category. Their Prime's kind of low end, Punch is kind of middle end, and Power is the high end. So Punch series is really good. Rockford actually sells their amplifiers for a pretty good price, especially the Prime and the Punch series. You got Punch series amplifiers from Rockford. All those companies are really good companies to go with, where you know you're going to get a very solid amplifier and you're going to get what you pay for. And if you're looking in car, I highly suggest some of those companies. I would suggest staying away from, this is my personal opinion as well, I would suggest staying away from Kicker and Boss and some of those companies and just going with Sundown, DC, Crescendo, any of those companies, but it's all up to your preference. Whatever's going to get you with bass in your vehicle is the most important thing. If you can't afford those amplifiers yet, then you can go with a cheaper amplifier. It's all about just fulfilling our addiction for bass. So as long as you're doing that, as long as you got a little bit of thump in your car, then that's really all that matters. I'm not trying to bash anyone's system that doesn't have these bigger brands and it just has Kicker. It's still a good system. It's still going to run well. I've still seen good numbers put up by Kicker. I'm just trying to let you guys know what I'm seeing between differences in prices of amplifiers and what I've experienced in the differences in prices of amplifiers. So next I'm going to talk about subs. Subs is kind of like, I'm going to use the same companies. Low-end subs are generally not reconable. Like I said, Kicker, the L7s, and all those are still reconable. But the low-end series of those subs are not reconable, which means you can't take out soft parts and put in new ones. Once it's blown, the sub is trashed. There's no way to recone the subwoofer. Middle-end and higher-end subs, you can recone them. And you can tear out all the soft parts and recone them if they blow, which means if you blow it, you're just buying $200 worth of soft parts instead of buying a $1,000 sub to replace it with the larger, like DC level 5s and level 6s. So you're getting the reconable. It's kind of the same thing with the peak and RMS. The lower ones, they're rated at peak, and you can't ever really put that to the sub. And their RMS is lower, and it can be iffy on some of the companies if their subs actually take the RMS or not. But that's where you're kind of getting with the lower end ones. With the middle end ones, all the subs take the rated power. They all do just fine on rated power. They'll last as long as the company says they will on rated power. Higher end subs like DDs and B2 Audios, they can take much more than their rated power. They're generally rated very, very conservatively. Not to say that Sundown and DC aren't, because Sundown and DC generally are rated a little conservatively as well, but I'd say with DD Audio and B2 Audio, their subs are generally rated much more conservatively than the middle range subs. I mean, I've seen some crazy power put onto some DDZs, which are their highest end subwoofer, but I've seen extremely high amounts of power put on those subs and they take it no problem. So I'd say that you're getting power with it for what you pay for. You're getting better quality, obviously, with baskets. Neo motors cost more. Those are generally only with the higher end companies that have Neo motors, and their subwoofers at least. You're getting better designs, less rattle, smoother operating of the system. Just better components all around, more leads, stitch surrounds, all the nice stuff, carbon fiber cones and caps. So that's kind of, it comes down to it's what you get what you pay for with all of this stuff. The big thing is just the power handling. That's really like where you see it the most, I would say, is in the power handling and how efficiently the sub runs. Some of the cheaper subs, when they run, if you free air them, you can hear noise, and they make like crickety noises. They make crickety noises, and you can kind of hear the subwoofer moving, where when you get into these nicer subwoofers, if you free air them, you can't hear anything. The subwoofer is almost completely quiet while it's moving, which just means it's built very well, it's built solidly, and there's no parts that are moving while the sub is, because if parts of the sub are moving while it is, that aren't the parts that are intended to move, then you're losing power. Anything that moves because of the subwoofer is taking power. So that's where you're getting for with nicer subs. And again, the big thing with all this is that you're getting what you pay for, and I am a huge advocate of do it right the first time. So if you're gonna do it, then do it right. Save up a little bit extra money, take a little bit more time to save, and get the nicer equipment. I've wasted a lot of money in my car just going through cheap systems until I finally got into bigger systems, which is when I realized how much money I had wasted by taking shortcuts on wire and shortcuts on wiring, and you just end up spending a lot of your own time or your own money trying to fix those issues. So I'm gonna say the big thing for this is that you get what you pay for in car audio, and I hope some of this information helped if you're just getting into car audio, or maybe if you've been in it for a while. I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Be sure to leave any comments of things you disagree with me on. I'd love to talk with you about it, see what your opinion is on it, and just kind of talk about car audio. I'm pretty good about responding to everyone, so if you have any questions, concerns, or on anything I said, leave it down in the comments. If you have anything you want me to do, any videos you'd like to see, leave it down in the comments as well, and I'll see you guys in the next video.